Hello! Welcome to the Oceania 7K World Cup 2026 recap show. We're here to get you caught up in the action, feature amazing scores, and maybe spotlight certain people involved with the biggest edition of the tournament. This past weekend featured a round of 32 where everyone's consistency and mentality were put to the test. There were a lot of surprises this weekend, so without further ado, let's get started.
One of this weekend's biggest upsets happened before even Saturday hit. Thursday saw 8th-seeded Team Australia face up a tough 25th seed Ireland. The Aussies came into the match without the service of their anchor Oct4, who was out of commission for the entire weekend. The Irish, on the other hand, had a new reinforcement in the flashlight savant Vigatron. The said player led the way for the Irish, helping them pick up the first 3 points of the match. The Aussies, not backing down, managed to score on the next two charts. Both teams then traded points on their respective picks, which meant that Australia went into the final chart trying to force tiebreaker. It wasn't meant to be though, as the Irish went driving into the darkness of the night by sealing their match win on midnight driving. With that win, Ireland is practically assured of their best ever finish in the MWC 7K. Meanwhile, Australia will have to salvage their campaign early on in the losers bracket.
Japan enters this World Cup with what is possibly their strongest roster, and they immediately showed their strength against the returning team Norway by sweeping them 5-0. Some notable performances in this match include the double 999,000 scores on Vice, as well as Japan's match-winning team score on Abyssal Cosmos.
South Korea has, as predicted, gone the first seed, so now they get to face off the team who has just scraped by to get through the bracket stage, Denmark. The role winner was South Korea, so they protect LN1 and ban Hybrid 3, while Denmark protects Rice 2 and bans LN2. Korea end up picking Rice 4, where Kalkai makes these core jacks just seem so trivial while achieving a 999k. Denmark was unable to keep up with Korea's consistency, with Korea only missing once in the match coming on the first map, so Korea was able to win 5-0.
Venezuela and Taiwan are both teams that have solid history behind their belt. Taiwan having been a team historically known for reaching finals its first week in 2016, and Venezuela, on the other hand, being an upcoming team that has been sticking to their promising performances as shown last year. The match starts simple. Venezuela wins the roll phase where they protect the physical EX1 pick Abyssal Cosmos, where Taiwan responds through protecting the Rice 4 pick Vice, a map that demands for your consistency all the way through. On the other hand, Taiwan bats out a ban for LN2 Tai Yun-shi as a result of not wanting to opt in for heavy control maps in the round, and Venezuela tops it off with a ban for EX2, Stone Pavement, and Signpost for Taiwan to start the match with the Dead Support Stream chart Bloody Mary, which resulted in a solid first point for the Taiwanese. Because Taiwan may have felt a surge of confidence following this pick, Venezuela's response was to steer right into Hybrid 1, Midnight Driving, a map that strikes a balance between coordination and embedded rights control, which both teams found good footing within, albeit ultimately falling in Venezuela's favor before throwing up Vice. With Vice being a very consistency-oriented map, you need to make sure that you are at your A game going into various of the control heavy corejack and anchors that are used at only 107 BPM. Veloz and Hero Jeff missed throughout the first course, swinging the lead to Venezuela thanks to a double V1 double S and a dominating MVP score of 90 perfects from A-Dog 145. This is a precarious situation for Taiwan, given that this was their protect, and due to the unfortunate misses, they had to try and fight for another breakpoint in their hands. What does Venezuela respond with? It is LN1 Endless Summer. This was the closest you could get to picking coordination in a match where it's been banned, but Taiwan began reeling the score back in their favor, and nerves gave out from A-Dog and Veloz until it ultimately resulted in a breakpoint of 11,239 points. In comes the second ban wave. From Taiwan's 75 roll to Venezuela's 27, their instinct is to ban out EX3 Sepia as to not bring out the big guns recklessly, and Venezuela bans Rice 1 Wonderful Paradise, given that it is one of the trickier picks in the round of 32 map pool. It was from there that Taiwan exhausts the long note category with Happy Girl, riding off that Endless Summer victory to snag more points and feasting on a weak link they found in Venezuela, only for them to respond with their protective EX1, Abyssal Cosmos, breaking glass in case of emergency, and holding on against a team just as even as them on Rice through a 4-way full combo. There is now only 2 picks that both countries have left to use, and the pressure's got all hands on deck. Venezuela is looking to try and defend themselves from being knocked down so early, and Taiwan as well is looking to fight and cause a potential upset here that can wreak havoc across the bracket. Taiwan picks into rice-free Sayonara Hanadorobu-san, settling on perhaps one of the biggest risks that they took in the entire match. It offers high rewards as they sliver out 4,135 points at the end, only for Venezuela to lay the money on Rice 5, amusing colorful pudding which they ace up with no more crumbs left to spare. Both teams are now back to square one. Venezuela and Taiwan have both proven their worth, but only one could run away with a victory at the end of it all. The tiebreaker here is none other than Konpyogo's Manen Okigasi ni Gochuio Festive Extended by Yi, a map that looks to challenge and otherwise scare anyone that comes to touch it in a match setting. Sir Ailey and A-Dog come to represent the vibrant Venezuela, while Taiwanese powerhouse Hero Jeff remains for X-Heart to make his first appearance in the match for Taiwan. Look at the object against the situation given that their winner's bracket run was already on the line this early. The match begins with a rocky start from Venezuela in the first quarter as misses fly out like papers, but Taiwan was no omnipotent to chokes either, as it all came down to the very wire in the end.
How late is it?
Oh
no.
This is nothing.
I think this part benefits Venezuela. We've seen how the harder rice parts are going.
It was heartbreaking to watch Taiwan fall down into the losers bracket given they have shown what they were made of and stood against the Venezuelans until the ending where they fell victim to the more physical rice stream long no coordination amalgamation patterns, with Venezuela ultimately taking pride of this as they survived yet another similar situation to that of their match against Canada last year. So strong congratulations to both teams, and the best of luck goes to both sides going into the round of 16 weekend.
The matchup between Thailand, a once storied team continuing to rebuild, and Portugal, a team that has set its sights on being among the best in Europe, gave us one of the tournament's most unexpected scorelines. Team Thailand came into this World Cup placing 10th during qualification, a considerable rise thanks to the return of Lost Cool to their roster. Team Portugal, the 23rd seed, relied on the services of Suneka and Rodrigo to start their campaign. Both teams saw an almost equal exchange of points throughout the match. We saw picks being successfully defended, breakpoints being traded, basically all of the spectacle possible in a single match. Some notable performances include Lost School's weekend-topping scores on all regular hybrid charts, as well as Portugal's 1.993 million score on Vice. When Bloody Mary was played, Portugal was in a position to defeat their higher-seeded opponents outright. However, clutch performances by both Lost School and Atsurio forced an unexpected tiebreaker. Lost School and Pibu 2-4-2-4 then went on to close out the match in favor of their team 5-4.
It's looking really impressive. One for the highlight reel, I'd say.
Oh yeah, of course. You never want to jinx scores like that, which are just waiting to happen to really set the standard that of Thailand in general. That just helped, just push them further into the equation as they win the tiebreaker 5-4. Thailand prevents the upset successfully and makes it into the round of 16 bracket. Despite what the Portuguese have been doing, they put.
Team Thailand will look ahead to a round of 16 appearance back in the winner's bracket, while Team Portugal will have to produce another inspired performance to survive in the loser's bracket.
It's time for the highlight match of the week. Seed 16 France versus Seed 17 Canada. Both teams start off raring to go, with Canada's initial pick a Rice 2, and this shows just how brutal this match is going to be, with it being decided by just one miss. Now, France being the more LN focused team of the match, go for LN2, and we see an exact inverse of Rice 2, where Canada was the team with the miss, and France is able to even up the score. The back and forth continues for the next 4 maps, until something interesting happens on Canada's pick of Rice 4. Canada now has to do the same as France. Win a breakpoint on France's pick of EX2. And the difficulty spikes of the EX picks is just enough to make that happen. How lucky are we to see 3 matches go to tiebreaker in round of 32? It's even crazier just how close this map was with the lead going back and forth. However, as proven in the previous pick, Canada's physicality is just too good, and they upset France and advance to the next stage of the winner's bracket. I talked about Korea being a strong team, but so is the Philippines, who is up against Singapore for their first match of the bracket stage. Singapore starts off by winning the roll and choosing Rice 1, and it's immediately obvious that PH is here to win the tournament once again, with Boshi top scoring the tournament with a 996k. Singapore tried to take a point, but it was just not enough to beat a team in such great form.
For Sunday's second offering, last year's second place team China faced a very feisty Italian side. Feisty enough to snatch a point off their opponents on Vice thanks to Lorak's 998,000 score on the chart. Despite this minor setback, Team China showed enough dominance across the remaining charts played. A deserved special mention goes to Qing Jiding, who had only one dropped LN and one miss throughout the entire match.
Poland vs Vietnam is up next, and with bans and picks finished, we see Poland win a breakpoint on Rice 4 convincingly, and then choose Hybrid 2, where they achieved the top score of the weekend as a result of a 995k from Bagjetka. After dominating on LN2, Poland opt to choose their protective LN3, which gets extremely close in the middle. Luckily, Poland is able to clutch up and secure a match point and eventually win the match.
Team Indonesia opened their campaign by facing off against Team Macau. Both teams notably traded breakpoints to start the match, with Indonesia taking advantage of Macau's shaky form on Higashi, and Macau pouncing on the opportunity when Indonesia ran into scroll speed troubles on Bloody Mary. It was a fairly straightforward affair for the Southeast Asian side, however, as they scored on the next 4 charts played to close out the match.
We are coming closer and closer to the end, with Seed 6 Peru and Seed 27 the United Kingdom. With Peru having their best placing in the past few years, they easily win the first 2 points, and on the UK's pick of Rice 4, we see why they've placed so high with an insanely high accuracy score from Shiu. Peru keeps up the sweep, winning 5-0, and I wish good luck to their opponent next week, Poland, since these scores were just so good. Last match of the week, and this is a closer match in terms of seeding. First up to pick is Germany, and they choose LN1. Watching this is so tragic though, since Germany was so close, but just at the end, Black U1 took a few too many combo breaks. Mexico continued winning on the next 2 maps, but as we moved to their pick of Hybrid 2, it wasn't looking as smooth. Luckily, Mexico was able to take that last map, but showed that Germany wasn't out of the match just yet, and this was proven on Germany's protect of Rice 1, where the consistency finally favored the Germans. Sadly, that was the only map Germany was able to get. Mexico was able to show that their seed may not be fully truthful, winning this in an upset.
And that wraps up our round of 32 recap. We had quite an insane weekend of upsets, clutch plays, and breakout performances. From shock wins to dominant sweeps, this stage reminded us why MWC 7K has always been a fun tournament to follow. Whether you're cheering for your country, drawing inspiration from standout plays, or just hype for what's next, stick around since as of the time this video is uploaded, the round of 16 weekend should be in progress. We'll be back soon with more breakdowns, highlights, and everything you need to stay caught up with the competition. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.